Good morning, YouTube. Good morning, everyone. And good morning, Mrs. Backyard Gardner. Oh, Hank's got a limp going. As promised, Miss Backyard Gardner, I'm going to give you an update on the backyard that we planted coming up on, I guess, on 5 years ago at this point. It's progressed a lot from the videos you guys saw, and I have been slacking, but life got in the way, as it often does. I'm not as good at making videos as everybody else is, so we're going to give this a shot. The blackberry raspberry patch and how it worked out. These were the Black Butte, the world's largest blackberry, something like that. These are very tasty, and they survived this a lot better. As you see, there's almost nothing growing left in here. Texas heat in this little spot right here, it cooks on this clay hill, and there's massive cracks open up under it. You can see I've been trying to mulch it and keep everything going, but the berries don't take the Texas heat very well. I would redo this with something with more shade on it, something a little bit more shadowy. The blackberries I'd put back here, they're almost gone at this point, but I did come through and weed eat a lot, so there's more than you can see. The kiwi, we finally got a trellis going. You can see Hank out there being Hank. The furry kiwis, I can't remember which kind they are exactly. Vincent Fuzzy Kiwi, I believe it is. There's some tags on them. The male and the females are different names. One's a Vincent and one's just a male or something. So they've done well. They've actually fruited this year. I think there's a dried up one on here somewhere. Yeah, there's one right there. You can see a little kiwi. I did get kiwis. It was the first year to ever get any, and they didn't ripen very well. I didn't know when to harvest kiwis, so that kind of really makes it hard when you don't know when to harvest them. They stayed kind of hard. Like this girl right here, she was laden, especially right up under here. It was so beautiful because there was all these fruits hanging here just like you would envision. And I don't know, we ate like one and it was all right, and the rest of them kind of stayed hard. I found out you have to wait till it frosts once, I think, and then harvest them and then let them ripen on the counter. Anyway, they grew well. Now, I didn't take care of them at first like I should have, so they're not as far along as they should be. I let them just sit here, as you saw in those videos, and they grew out as shrubs at one point. So at some point, me and my wife finished up these big trellises that we meant to build the whole time, never did. And then I had to come back and cut them all back to single trunk. So I wasted a year or two of their growth by these things being these giant medusas before I made them focus on this. So that's my, again, laziness actually cost me more in the long run than if I'd have just did it right the first time. And again, this one had a lot of extra growth. There's stuff under here. I'm doing basically forest floor. Everything in my yard gets cut up and thrown into the tree boxes to create more mulchy, humusy, soily stuff. It's expensive to buy soil. It's free to grab crap out of the yard and throw it in there. It's doing pretty well. I mean, this is just fiber roots all in there. You can see they grow the roots up into the box, but obviously into the clay. This is some leaf mold. As you can see, it's looking really good. My little techniques of reusing everything seems to be working out. And this girl right here, of course, she got cut back pretty hardcore too, and big chunks. But we're gonna get that going. This is gonna look beautiful one day, and I hope to actually update you guys and start doing this YouTube thing again. When I first did my videos, I didn't want to be on the camera, and I was new to watching even a lot of YouTube. And the thing is, people that vlog, and they have to be on the camera. So as pretty as I may be, I still don't like being on the camera. So here we go with the cherries. I'll update you there. The cherry box, well, it's a mixed bag. This cherry was the one I wanted to do the best, so I put it to the front. It was the one I was the most happy for. It was a yellow-pink cherry, so the yellow cherries. Sweet cherries are sensitive to diseases and heat, all the bad things, more so than sour cherries right off the bat. This is an antique variety from the 1700s. This was my oldest tree. I think I said all that in my other videos. Napoleon cherry, 1700s. This sweet cherry, these are more modern hybrids, I guess you would say, or more modern cultivars, and they're doing a lot better. This ancient variety is dead. It dried up. The rootstock's alive. This branch over here, there's a branch that still has some leaves on it. This is still pliable. This is still alive. I'm going to let this grow out, and I was trying to maybe thinking of grafting some onto these existing trees and just letting this go away. It didn't work out. I should have put it to the back. How could you know these things until you do it, right? The most sensitive tree, I put in the absolute worst spot. Again, this is my south face. I'm trying not to look directly at the sun, but Lord have mercy, we have a lot of sun here. This is a huge amount of sky, and it just bakes this. So it doesn't do very well. So I started the forest floor thing out here on these boxes. You'll see this a lot more over here, but we just started this last year on this area. put down tree trunks, like hugelkultures, logs, anything in the world I can. Cover that with leaves at the end of the year. Go around and collect everybody's leaves they bag up for us conveniently. Sprinkle that. My yard grows sunflowers every year really big. I use sunflower stalks all in here. This is all sunflowers. I'll let the sunflowers grow wild. My yard looks trashy and just full of sunflowers. And I come through and I whack them all down and use them for biomulch. Some cool things that have been going on in the yard that weren't happening back then, I don't think, was the naturalization of cilantro. Cilantro has gone wild in the yard at this point. It now lives here on its own. So these guys have naturalized about 4 years ago. This one's getting ready to bolt, which is fine. There is cilantro growing everywhere in the yard. Right here, here. There's little patches all around the blueberries. The blueberries have done a lot better. They're starting to throw out new tall shoots the way they were always supposed to. I had the original ones for years in buckets. They didn't take to being here very well, very fast. The newer ones I got from Home Depot actually acclimated to this faster because they weren't so root bound. So you'll see new stalks way out away from the main crown, and that's great. So it's getting ready to bust out real good here. Blueberries, I do recommend blueberries. Gosh, they're so easy to grow. The pain in the butt is you got to buy special soil in the beginning if your soil isn't the right kind of stuff for blueberries. I mean, obviously I bought soil for everything almost. Oh, wait till we get over here. There's your trees. I just hacked them down for the winter, so there's some successes and some failures over here, so we're going to talk about it. The blueberries are looking really good though. There's more, again, cilantro. This is another mulberry tree that's coming up on its own. I let it go. That's a mulberry tree in my mulch area that still looks pretty bad. I've got a mulberry tree coming up in the middle of this garden. There's a mulberry tree right here coming up in by my chicken coop, and I've got a big one over there at the patio. I wasn't going to show the patio because it looks bad, but yeah, that area, there's a giant mulberry that came up on its own. We added a ground garden. Obviously it's winter and we haven't been paying attention to it. More cilantro, just huge. There's cilantro everywhere. I like this because we get to eat cilantro all winter. Texas is bad for cilantro, but it'll grow all winter. It'll never die. And it won't bolt until it starts getting warm like it's starting to. So this one's starting to bolt, but very few of them are. The rest of them are just in vegetative growth, which is great. Oh my goodness, I could have a cilantro farm at this point, and I didn't plant any of this. Anywhere I plant cilantro, it doesn't grow. When I let it go seed, it grows wherever it wants. That's a massive amount of nice cilantro. Kale made it all winter here in Dallas, Texas area. My corn from last fall. So yeah, the ground garden, the other set of mulberries. Again, I'm gonna let this grow in the middle of my gardens because there is such thing as too much sun, and I get that here. This brown plastic stuff works really great. I let it overgrow so it doesn't look as great, but it's gonna be a lot easier to clean this up than if I didn't have it, trust me on that. There's a lot to talk about. Did some reclaiming of wood and we got a new fence. I don't know if in those videos originally I'd seen this whole fence had fallen apart. Pomegranates had died back 1 year. After we had the first year of the videos and everything was growing great, these grew into huge pomegranate trees. I single trunked them. This is the old trunk, and they grew very well, and I made sure it didn't shrub out. They both, well, we had an unseasonably hard freeze at about November 9th 1 year. All these were in full leaf. Everything was just not dormant in these pomegranates, and it froze hard. It killed them both to the ground. This is actually still alive. There's still a sprig of it that comes back every year. It's down in here right now. This one, as you can see, it died back, but it came back really strong. We've actually just cut out a bunch of excess in here just a couple days ago. So we topped it. I let it grow on its own for a couple of years just to let it rejuvenate. The thing is, it doesn't go away. It's still here. It's just, it didn't flourish there for a year or two. Whew, I'm getting out of breath. I need to spend more time in the yard or less. I can't tell. The almond never did good, and I had a feeling it did good at first. We had some windstorms, and I think it broke off a bunch of the big roots it had going on it because it was still young. And see, it's very floppy, and it's been like that ever since. I tied it off. It'll grow every year. It'll grow new leaves. It'll grow flowers, but it's struggling hardcore. And again, this area gets real dry. It's kind of up on a hill here at the top of the yard, and I know it's hard to see on the video, but it's higher here than anything else. Water runs off, doesn't collect. Again, we're starting a forest floor thing. I'm trying to collect that mulch because this clay in the backside of that box is going to turn into a hard pan in the summer, and I think this thing suffers from that. But again, now that I've cut it back real hardcore, it's starting to come back for me. I was going to give up on this guy, but I don't give up on plants too easy. Look at this shoot. This one's starting to try to flower. I'm not going to let it do any flowers this year. It's going to make them, but I'm going to pick them all off, I'm actually gonna miracle grow this tree. I'm gonna do whatever I gotta do and pump it up to get it to recover, and then we'll see where we're at. It's supposed to be an asparagus bed here. Doesn't look like an asparagus bed, but it is at this point, gonna be one. The trees, oh my goodness. Now, Miss Backyard Garden as well is talking about these things, depending on how they grow, they get big kind of quick. Now, we just stuck these in here, they was about the size of my thumb, right? What was that, a couple years ago? If you recall looking at my videos, you'll see this branch and that branch as those first two leaves that you see coming out of this one, that's them. And this is the original knots where I was cutting it back in those videos. This is the original tree tip, basically, and this is those first two major branches. And yeah, this thing is, I can't even tell you. The graft, it doesn't even look like it's grafted hardly anymore. It's right here, the graft line. I don't think y'all can see in the shadows, but it's there. The Dapple Dandy, and this is the Burbank Plumcott, the original. And again, everything's been cut back. I've started taking wood out the middle because you really can't, I'm on my knees right now trying to get up in here just to video this. And my technique worked great. But hopefully this is something you can learn from mine. If you do any of the caldera form and it come to the middle of a multi-tree thing, there ain't no point letting it even try to do nothing in here, because once they get big, you can't get up in here anyway. So that was my training learning that I'd never had before, was, you know, see how as I'm coming back out, I can get to all this wonderfully, no problem at all. This is great. You start, I'm having to duck, put my arms up under here and have an aneurysm in my brain from leaning over too much. It's not good. So don't even let anything in the middle pretty much take hold. That whole big branch needs to come out of there. I can't get up in there to that. You can see old fruit on it. They did fruit. This clay soil, again, supports trees. It's just not amazing for them. You can see some big old roots coming out of these trees, so that's great. Plums and stuff, they don't seem to mind the soil. I mean, but some of the other stuff did. There's Hank way down his run. But yeah, the trees, this is the Dapple Dandies in them. They're doing pretty great. You can see I'm having to cut stuff off just to keep this little eye open. There's a dog running against the fence. We got a lot of fruit off of these trees last year. This one especially. This one was shockingly delicious. This is the most delicious piece of fruit I've ever had. This one we didn't get anything off of it because the wasps and the bees, there were some things that we need to talk about that happened. We haven't got a lot off of them yet because of I don't spray anything, and where I'm at, there's a lot of bugs. So we'll talk about that later. This one got a little overcrowded. I let this beast in the front grow a little too much. You can see I took a lot of wood out. So it made this one grow spindly, thin, and with 10 million little branches. Over the years, I've been trying to thin it out. You gotta bring it back down, the main trunks, main arms, bring them out. Everything I can work with out here, again, I can't really work with all that up in there. I mean, it's there, but I can't, I mean, you could send grandkids in there or something, I guess. But it's not great. So, you know, whatever you like, that's what you should look at least. So some of this stuff again opened up in the middle. I need to get in there and put some mulch in there or something. These boxes, I'll be honest with you, I don't need these boxes anymore. These are really kind of done. This wire and stuff was to keep the chickens out when I was throwing leaves in, because they would scratch it all out in the road, and so would the dog. But yeah, this mound of dirt in here, and you see how the roots are all out here. I could disassemble this. There would be a little bit of a flat edge, you know, on the side. I bet I could line it with some big rocks, or just fill it in with some dirt and just make it berm out, and it would just leave me little tree mounds in my yard at this point, now that the trees have taken hold. Well, not all of them took hold. You're gonna see that. This is not because of my husbandry. This is due to bad luck. These are the apples, and there's the Asian pears. Real bad luck on these both. Trick to this is, obviously they're related. Apples and pears are in the same family. There's a disease of apples called fire blight. When you're looking up varieties, they'll talk about, oh, this has got this resistance or that resistance, and maybe this does or this doesn't, whatever. I didn't know. You don't really know. I mean, I've looked up agricultural extensions. They say they need to have it in this area. Well, I call BS on that, because yes, we do. This is a classic fire blight crook right here. This is fire blight. All this wood dying off, crumbling to dust. So once one of them parts of it gets it, it's bad. So it rots the apples because the fire blight comes in from the pollinators. These trees grew great until they started making fruit. And you can see this one too. It was doing good, and I've been cutting out a lot of wood trying to get ahead of the disease. I'm not catching it. I'm just not. It's not because of how I'm growing them. It's because of the disease that just happens to be in this area. Granny Smith is dead completely, and she just died this year. The heat and the disease she could not take. And again, this is not my husbandry. I mean, into the fact that I don't spray stuff. There's already bugs in here now. It's already over with. There's this disease in this area, and I just didn't know it was here. I would have looked for more of a resistant varieties had I known that, there were varieties that were listed as more resistant. The ones I picked were pretty much the ones that said very weak resistance, but they sounded like they were delicious, so that's what I bought, and I'm paying a price. So these boxes are going to be reclaimed or something. The rootstocks are resistant, apparently, because the rootstocks of these are more prevalent. The Asian pears. I've eaten Asian pears off these trees. They do grow, but the disease is rampant. That's all the rootstock growing up out of there, and I'm kind of letting it happen. Look how it going up high as a tree almost. If I can get some more resistant, the rootstock isn't affected by it because it's some sort of wild pear or crabapple. If I can get some more resistant kind of pear, like somebody who's got a pear tree in my area that I see is living and is making pears, even if they ain't that tasty, I'm gonna have to try to graft some onto this rootstock to save these tree roots and cut out all that old Asian pear to get the disease out of here and try to start these over. And that's kind of where I'm at on that. And I don't know that that's gonna work, but that's where my mindset is. So let's just know that disease is a real thing. They grew great, and then they started making fruit, and then the fire blight came in. And this is all rootstock, literally all of that. These Asian pears, the rootstock is very weedy, and it does make a lot of suckers and shoots and stuff. The figs, oh Lord, yeah, the figs are out of control. Figs grow anywhere. I don't care who you are. Figs are gonna grow. These were the only ones we put in the ground, obviously straight. And these are the first things we put in here. And these things are monsters. I don't even know how to, I mean, this is beautiful. I ain't never seen no wood like this. As I told you on my videos, I ain't never had a fig before. I grew them myself. And boy, oh boy, did we get a lot of figs. The second one was always kind of a straggler. It still is, but it still puts out a heck of a lot of figs. This was all figs last year. Every nodule on every branch you see. Literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of figs on both of them. I think I got ripped off. This one was supposed to be golden celeste and turkey. They look like and they taste like and they smell like. They don't look no different to me. Everything in the world we tried. The yard's obviously in still wintertime, so apologize for the mess. I did acquire some IBC totes. Working on the concept of rainwater catchment, and with this big square part of my house up here with literally a square roof, is a great amount of collection can be done in various places on the house. So that's working out. You know, we ain't done with that project yet. I just built a black soldier fly bin this winter. Probably 2 or 3 weeks ago I finished it, and so I'm working on this. Unlike, I know people don't like snakes and lizards and all that type of stuff in this world, but I do like snakes and lizards and stuff. And in the meantime, we have acquired some lizards in our life. And lizards and chickens love black soldier fly larvae. So right now we're spending $5 a week on crickets for 2 bearded dragons and 2 veiled chameleons. And that's just silly when I could be doing this. I built it, and it's wintertime here. So this is a warm, sunny day today, but it hasn't been. I've already added a lot of material in here. It's not attracting houseflies or anything. It's just been so cold. I built my little ramps. I drilled my holes in the ramps, and I got the buckets, you know, set up. But there ain't no black soldier flies in here yet. But yeah, this is all out of reclaimed. The old fence that used to be here, just broke it all down and sawed it all up. And we got this old fence panel wood. A lot of it's broke up, but some of it ain't. We're gonna take it and we're gonna use it on the back of our bar. It's gonna look cool. Yeah, that's work in progress. I'm not gonna show you. My citrus has grown. There's that other mulberry tree, which looks really pretty growing next to our patio like that. Just a good enough distance away from the concrete not to seem like a big problem yet. And that's not a load-bearing slab or anything. So the citrus, I had to buy a greenhouse because even in Texas, where I'm at, it freezes. And I may have been able to get away with it not buying one, but I wasn't going to find out the hard way because, as I'm sure you're aware, citrus is not cheap. My avocado, my cousin bought me this and sent it to me in the mail. I purposely left this open on some freezing temperatures because I did learn that these citrus here aren't affected by frost like very much at all. I mean, as long as it's a light one. Avocados, the young growth will freeze back, but it had flowered real hard in here. And that was the problem. It's flowering too early in the year, and I just repotted this recently, and I wasn't ready for this, but I'm impressed by this. I mean, that's just, what is that, 1,000 flowers right there? But I would leave this open and let that frost hit it, and it froze them back. It didn't kill the branches, see? They can take that cold, these can't. I don't want it to put on flowers right now. There just ain't no point in it because I need this to grow a little better. It'll probably reflower in mid-spring anyway, I think. So I'll let that happen. My Meyer lemon is doing great. Back when those pomegranates died years ago, this guy in a pot and this guy in a pot died. They were little Home Depot specials. That's been 5 years ago. This is 5 years, well, 4.5, 5 years later. This is that plant. We harvested about 19 lemons off of this fall. And this guy, it took a lot longer to recuperate, but it's finally recuperated. And my $30 that I spent 5 years ago did not die. Took 2 years to bring it back to life until it actually came up out of the ground again, but I kept it that long. It's full of flowers. So in a greenhouse, you know, there's flower petals falling off left and right. All these flowers. Yeah. So anywho, I have, oh, honeybees in here, cool. This is a navel orange. Yes, a navel orange. This is a mandarin, one kind of mandarin, and they're not the ones I hear about on the videos a lot. This is another kind of mandarin. So I got 2 different kind of mandarins. The Meyer lemon, the navel orange. I'm not sure exactly. It's not Valencia or anything. I think it's Washington navel, something like that. This is a Mexicola Grande, cold tolerant avocado. And this is a key lime, Texas certified key lime, because, you know, there's diseases. You can't trade them out of state. So Texas certified key lime, all that neat stuff there. So this worked out great. This is a cheap $100 greenhouse. It is a good greenhouse if you modify it when you get it. I knew right off the bat from the reviews that they were flimsy. This pipework can't hold. The wind can blow so hard down on this that it would collapse these structures in the comments and in the reviews. I already knew that. I just went ahead and put a T-bar and literally just put some blue tape, and it's been here all winter since November. And it is almost March right now. So, bam, didn't come out. I put in rebar in the corners. All 4 corners is rebar with this yellow, cheap, trashy rope I don't like in the world, but I had a bunch of it, this stuff. I just doubled it up, made a double string, went around everything 5-6 times, and it's been here all winter. We had a tornado come within a mile of my house a couple of months ago. Survived the whole thing, no problem at all. This wasn't here in my videos. That swimming pool, which I just got rid of last summer or something, it's obviously a scar on the landscape, and I'm gonna get rid of it. This grew right here by where the water pump was. I kept killing this thing over and over. And this is where I used to tear it up. I even had somebody have some Roundup. I sprayed some Roundup on it one time. Nope, didn't kill it. And then I realized, well, it's a willow tree. I hear that you can, you know, if you have a fever and let's say Ebola or whatever, the coronavirus is killing everybody, supposedly we can make something that can lower the children's fever with that. So, okay, it may have a purpose. I'll let it live. The Jefferson plum in the front, this is the Jefferson plum. These are both plums, those are interspecifics. It's starting to popcorn real hard. Again, even all these branches, I shortened them up because I do want the fruit out here in the road like this. I mean, this is awesome. I'm gonna be able to walk up. Again, some of this inner stuff I could still get to, but I've been working on for the last 2 years just clearing all that out because you just can't get to it. And I did get what I was seeking. I showed y'all in those videos years ago, I was looking to make a big canopy of a tree, right? Or let's see a better example, you know, big trees. I want that big ball, but I wanted it down on the ground. I got that. The trick is it does take up space. You see what I'm saying? It's either do that here or do that up there. I got power lines up there, or phone lines. I can't let them grow too tall anyway. So what I tried to do worked. Look at those major branches. These are all branches you probably could see in those original videos. Massive, massive wood. This is awesome. I mean, I'm very pleased with how things turned out. And again, this thing fruited so heavy last year. I had pictures of it, and I don't think I'd throw a picture into this video. I'm just gonna post it without editing it. This whole set of branches was so loaded, it looked like grapevines or something, like bunches of plums. Now, did I get any of them? No. This thing had hundreds and hundreds of them on there. Plum curculios, some other issues, a lot of rain. We didn't eat a single one. The only one we ate off of was this one. But we learned. Part of the thing was we're sitting there waiting for them to all come in and harvest. So we'll see one, and you might try to eat it or sample it, especially off this one. But it's like, well, how are we supposed to? They don't ripen evenly. They all ripen on different days. So, okay, we didn't think it through. Now I have. Why don't we just take one, freeze it individually, throw it in a Ziploc bag when it's froze. And the next one comes in, it looks good, it has a little bug bite, scratch that off, freeze it individually, throw it in that bag, and just sit there and keep doing that until we have them all frozen together. You know, eat right out of hand the stuff you want to eat fresh, and then just freeze the rest for when we want to process it into either juices or, I don't know, homemade wine, whatever we want to do with it. But storing the stuff and doing something with it's becoming an issue. So the garden is still here. Things aren't as far as I would like them to be in some cases, like the asparagus bed's still not there. But it's not bad. It's ugly looking right now. It's a mess. I got to do it all by myself mostly. My kids don't really mess with it anymore. My wife helps me a lot because this is our little project. Oh, I changed this vegetable bed into a strawberry bed. Yeah. Yeah, so Hank and the chickens disrespect the heck out of these fences. Yeah, that dude, he's limping, but he don't care. He must have did that today because I don't think he was limping last night. He stepped on something out here. And obviously, as you can see, that ain't gonna be too difficult. Definitely need to clean this up. But he broke these off over the years. He would jump in there, the chickens jump in there and start dust bathing, just mess everything up. So what I ended up doing, as you can see, I didn't have any hinges, so I just used these strap metal for a hinge for the moment. We had some of this left over from the chicken coop. And I tell you what, chickens and Hank ain't getting through this, and it's screwed down. There are spots where it's stapled, but it does have screws holding the metal in. And ain't nobody getting in there now. Ain't nothing on 2 legs getting in that. I'm thinking about we're going to go ahead and do that for that one too. Hank has dug in the roots of these for the years, as y'all seen in those videos. Me and him have gone round and around about that. I just kind of uncovered those the other day. They look like they're getting a little snotty stuff. I gotta maybe get some sulfur spray, some organic sulfur-y stuff that kills fungus or bacteria. They have a problem with that. But anyway, I'm long and I'm rambling. I was just so excited that you responded to my video, and I wanted to show you my yard, this backyard gardener. I'd be tickled pink if Lead Farmer 72 saw my stuff too. Lead has inspired me to a lot of stuff. I've been looking at bananas real hardcore here lately. How am I going to do that? How am I going to grow bananas in this yard, in this climate, when it's super hot and dry during the summer and it freezes during the winter? So there's some ideas I'm going to kick around about putting a new station in the shade of this for the half of the summer and doing some neat trickery. We got more to come. So I hope you guys have a wonderful evening. We'll talk to you soon.